Have you ever felt your heart slowly crack under the weight of sweet words that turned into lies? Being with a narcissist is like being locked inside a golden cage. At first, everything glitters so brightly that you believe you've finally found the one, someone who truly sees you, understands you. They flatter you, they make promises, they paint a dazzling picture of the future. And most of all, they give you just enough affection to keep you hooked, like an addict waiting for the next dose. But then, one day, that warmth turns into ice. The person who once held your hand so tightly, who once looked at you like you were their whole world, now passes by with a cold, indifferent gaze, as if you never even existed. It's confusing, isn't it? One moment you're the center of their universe, the next you mean nothing at all. In your desperation, you start to wonder, are they just tired? Did I do something wrong? Maybe it's just a rough patch. But the harsh truth is much simpler. For a narcissist, love is never about genuine connection. To them, relationships are tools, ways to control, to be admired, to fill the endless emptiness inside their ego. And when they no longer see value in you, they'll discard you without hesitation. It feels like a knife straight through the chest. You ask yourself, were any of those moments ever real? Did they ever actually love me? How can someone walk away so coldly? The heartbreaking answer is this. To them, you were never seen as a whole person with your own feelings. You were just a mirror reflecting the image they wanted to believe about themselves. And when that mirror began to fade, they simply threw it away to find a shinier one. But remember, realizing this truth isn't meant to break you, it's meant to set you free. Because once you recognize the signs, you stop being lost in the illusion. Instead of tormenting yourself, you start noticing the clues, the strange silences, the subtle but undeniable shifts in their attitude. These aren't just warning signs, they're lifelines pulling you out of the maze of manipulation. And tonight, we'll walk through 7 such signs together, 7 red flags that reveal when a narcissist is truly done with you. Some signs are subtle, like when they stop caring about what you say. Others are brutal, like disappearing and blocking all contact without a word of goodbye. Each sign is painful on its own, but when put together, they paint the whole picture. And that picture, as bitter as it may be, is the very first step toward your healing. So, listen with your whole heart, because what feels like the end of everything may actually be the beginning of your freedom. This isn't about blaming you, nor about excusing their cruelty. It's an invitation to open your eyes, to step out of the toxic cycle, and to reclaim the life and the love you truly deserve. Sign 1. They disappear without a word. Have you ever felt this? You wake up one morning, reach for your phone like you always do, and instead of that familiar good morning text, all you see is silence. You send a message, no reply. You call, no one answers. And then it hits you. They've blocked you on every platform. No explanation, no goodbye. It's as if you vanished from their world, or more precisely, they've erased you from theirs. But for most people, even a breakup comes with some kind of conversation, a difficult but honest moment, at least showing a trace of respect. But with a narcissist, nothing ever follows the normal rules. They choose the coldest way out, disappearing. Not because they're too busy, not because they're afraid of hurting you. The reason is cruelly simple. In their eyes, you no longer have value, and they don't owe you any explanation. The truly terrifying part is the silence itself. Silence isn't just emptiness. It's like being trapped in a dark room where the only sound is the echo of your own thoughts. You start spinning stories. Maybe something bad happened to them. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe it's just a misunderstanding. While you drown in questions, they've already moved on to a new supply, laughing and living as if you never existed. This sudden disappearance isn't just a way of ending things, it's psychological warfare. It leaves you stuck in confusion and pain, forcing your mind to search for reasons to rationalize their behavior. Psychologists call this trauma bonding. when victims are chained to a toxic relationship through cycles of love and abandonment. Sweet one moment, cruel the next. This push and pull creates an emotional addiction that's incredibly hard to break. But here's the truth you need to face. Someone who truly loves you would never vanish without a word. Someone who truly values you would at the very least offer an explanation, awkward, messy, or painful as it might be. A person who walks away in silence, who blocks you out of their life as easily as deleting an old photo, that's not love. That's pure selfishness. Worse still, many narcissists turn this disappearing act into a twisted game. They vanish into silence, let you suffer, and then suddenly reappear as if nothing happened. They toss out a few sweet words, pretend to be sorry, and in a weak moment you might let them back in. But soon enough the cycle repeats. Once they're bored, they disappear again. It's the cat and mouse game they enjoy, an endless loop with no way out. So what should you do when faced with this sign? First, summon the courage to admit that their silence is intentional. Don't weave excuses. Call it what it is: abandonment, irresponsibility, and cruelty. It hurts to see it clearly, but that clarity is your first step toward freedom. Next, reframe their disappearance as a release, because when they're gone, you finally have space to heal. Every tear, every sleepless night, it's all part of recovery. You are not invisible. You do not deserve to be ghosted. You deserve love that is respectful and kind. Remember this: when one door slams shut, sometimes it reveals an entire sky of freedom behind it. Yes, their silent disappearance cuts deep, but it also means you're no longer shackled by their manipulation. You now have the chance to rewrite your story, not as a side character in their drama, but as the main character of your own life. Sign 2. They turn everything into a battlefield. Have you ever felt like your own home, the place that should be your safest refuge, suddenly turned into a war zone filled with smoke and fire? Living with a narcissist teaches you that peace is only an illusion. They can take the smallest, most harmless detail and turn it into the spark for an explosive fight. An offhand comment, a distracted glance, even the way you place a cup on the table. Any of these can become reasons for them to unleash their rage. At first, you might think they must be stressed. Maybe I really did something wrong. But over time, you begin to see the pattern. Every conflict starts with them, and no matter what happens, you always end up carrying the blame. That's not random. It's a strategy. Narcissists know exactly how to weaponize arguments as tools of control. They deliberately provoke you, exaggerate issues, and cast you as the guilty one to justify their actions. You get pulled into the whirlpool, desperately defending yourself, trying to prove your innocence, hoping they'll understand. But the more you fight, the more exhausted you become, while they grow more satisfied. For them, every reaction from you is a small victory, proof that they still control your emotion. Think back. How many times have you apologized for things that didn't deserve an apology? How many times have you backed down just to end the argument, even when deep down you knew you did nothing wrong? That's their trap. They create an environment where you're always on the defensive, always questioning yourself, until your confidence slowly erodes. Psychologists call this gaslighting through conflict, a form of mental manipulation where the other person deliberately manufactures fights to make you doubt yourself. When someone is forced to believe that they are always at fault, their psyche begins to collapse. You become trapped in a cycle. The more you resist, the more you're labeled as the problem. Even worse, this constant battlefield effect suffocates you inside your own space. Your home stops being a shelter and turns into a minefield. You walk on eggshells, terrified that one wrong step will trigger another explosion. You no longer dare to speak your truth. You no longer breathe freely. You become a prisoner inside what was supposed to be your sanctuary. Why do they do this? Because to leave you, they need a legitimate excuse. And the easiest way is to make you the villain. They'll tell outsiders that you're angry, unreasonable, impossible to deal with. Of course, No one else saw the whole show to realize they were the instigator. With their talent for performance, they rewrite the story perfectly. You're the destroyer, while they, so tragically, are just the victim. Here's what you need to understand. Endless fights aren't happening because you're not good enough or because you failed to love properly. They're part of a plan designed to chip away at your spirit until you either walk away in defeat or submit completely to their rules. And here's the bitter truth. When a relationship becomes a battlefield, no one truly wins. Love was never meant to be a war about who's right and who's wrong. Real love is about finding solutions together, not fabricating reasons to tear each other down. So if you're living in that kind of atmosphere, ask yourself, how many more nights do I have to fall asleep in tears? How many more days do I have to live in fear of being blamed? These questions aren't easy to face, but they are alarm bells. Because any relationship that makes you feel fear more than love is not a place you belong. And if you can find the courage to leave, remember this. Every step you take away from that manufactured battlefield is a step back toward true peace. Out there, healthy relationships do exist. Places where your words aren't treated like bullets, but like something worth listening to. Sign 3. The cold indifference. There's a kind of pain that doesn't come from shouting or cruel words. It comes from silence. A silence so icy that it drains all the warmth out of a relationship. If once they used to ask you, "What do you think about this?" or "What should I do next?" Now, those questions are gone, replaced with blank stares, half-hearted nods, or worse, no response at all. That's when a narcissist has begun to retreat. They no longer see your thoughts or feelings as important. You might talk about a rough day at work, but they just scroll through their phone. You might share your dreams or future plans, but they just shrug. From something as small as what you want to wear today to something as big as the direction of your lives together, none of it matters to them anymore. You are no longer their partner. You're just decoration in their picture. This indifference is crueler than any argument because it kills you silently. Not with one stab, but with 1,000 tiny cuts, each one bleeding you dry. You start to feel invisible. Sitting next to them feels like living on another planet. You speak, but it's like talking to a wall. And then, that heartbreaking question creeps in, do I even mean anything to them anymore? Psychologists say this is a familiar defense mechanism for narcissists. When they stop getting the admiration and emotional supply they crave, they pull back to protect their ego. They hide their emptiness behind a wall of indifference. In other words, their coldness isn't because you're not good enough. It's because they no longer see you as useful for their inflated sense of self. But indifference is dangerous in another way. It plants guilt inside you. You begin to blame yourself. Maybe I'm not interesting anymore. Maybe I'm less attractive. Maybe it's my fault they're bored. Each question cuts deeper into your self-worth until you start believing you have no value. And that's exactly what the narcissist wants. To make you doubt yourself so they can maintain control. Remember this, real love is never that cold. In a healthy relationship, even in conflict, people still want to listen, still care about each other's feelings. Absolute indifference is not a normal sign of long-term love. It's a glaring red flag that you've already been pushed out of the relationship. If you're experiencing this, take a moment to look inward. Do you still feel seen? Do you still feel heard? Or are you just talking to thin air? If the answers sting, then that's the truth you need to face. Stop excusing it with, "They're just busy," or "They're just stressed." Someone who truly loves you will always find a way to show you, "I'm still here, you still matter." And if you no longer feel that, then be brave enough to admit they've already left you in their mind, even if their body is still around. You don't need to wait for the official goodbye. Their indifference is already a silent breakup, just as cruel as any blunt farewell. The good news is this: Once you face that truth, you can begin to step out. Their coldness doesn't define your worth, it only reflects the emptiness inside them. You deserve someone who will never let their eyes turn cold when they look at you. Sign 4, they speak badly about you behind your back. There's a kind of betrayal that doesn't crash with the sound of swords, nor explode like a shouting match. It comes quietly, sweet on their lips but sharp enough to pierce your heart. It's when the person you trusted most begins to spread poisonous words about you behind your back. Narcissists are skilled actors. To your face, they may still smile, laugh, even pretend to care, but once they turn away, they start writing a different script, one where you are the unstable one, the one with problems. To co-workers, they might say, "I'm really worried about her, she's been acting so strange lately." To your family, they might whisper, "He doesn't seem okay, I think he's hiding something." At first, those words sound like concern, but in reality they're bait, subtle seeds of doubt that slowly change the way people see you. And then you notice, friends don't call as often, a colleague keeps their distance, even family members start looking at you differently, suspiciously. You're left confused, wondering what happened. But the truth is this: your image has been twisted by the very person you once called the one you love. This is a classic narcissistic tactic known as divide and conquer. They create conflict, sow doubt, and isolate you. The less support you have from friends, co-workers, even family, the easier you are to control. To them, your loneliness is a weapon. Once you have no one else to lean on, you'll think you only have them, the very person tightening the leash. But smearing you isn't only about isolating you. It also helps them protect their perfect image. When the relationship falls apart, they want everyone to believe, "It wasn't my fault, it was theirs." And to make that believable, they must gradually turn you into the guilty one. Lies, distortions, half-truths, all carefully crafted to protect their ego while dumping the blame on you. Do you remember those times they retold an argument but conveniently left out the part where they provoked it, or when they accidentally added details to make you sound angry and unreasonable? With their talent for acting, they can convince others they're the innocent victim, while you're painted as the cruel aggressor. The most painful part? Sometimes you don't even know it's happening. You only realize it when friends pull away, or when a family member confronts you with accusations about things you never did. That's when it feels like the whole world has turned against you. But remember, this isn't your fault. It's a carefully staged performance meant to bend the truth. When faced with this, many people panic. They try to explain, defend themselves, clear their name, but the harder you fight, the deeper you fall into the trap. Because to outsiders, the more intensely you react, the more it proves you must have something to hide. That's the cruel psychological game narcissists love to play. The only way out is not to chase down every rumor, but to stand firm in yourself. Trust your own worth. Trust the people who truly know and walk beside you, because those who really belong in your life won't be swayed by baseless gossip. And most importantly, truth always surfaces in the end. So see their slander as proof that they're already halfway out the door, because once they need to tear you down to protect themselves, it means they've stopped protecting you. They've chosen to guard their image, not your love. And that, right there, is the red flag of an ending. You deserve a relationship where your partner defends your name, even when you're not in the room. Real love will never turn you into the villain in someone else's eyes. If they've done this to you, your job isn't to run after them trying to explain, it's to find the courage to let go. Sign 5. They force you to break up first. Breakups are already painful, but do you know what's even more bitter? It's when you're pushed into being the one to end things, even though they were the one who orchestrated it all along. For a narcissist, making you pull the trigger first is a classic move. It allows them to escape the relationship without wearing the label of the one who left, while preserving their perfect image as the poor victim in everyone else's eyes. At first, you won't even notice it happening. They're still there, but their presence grows weaker and weaker. They text less, care less. The little daily check-ins disappear. In their place comes cold detachment, short replies, indifference, or even intentionally vanishing for a few days only to return as if nothing happened. You feel disappointed, but you can't really call them out, because on the surface, they haven't technically done anything wrong. Then one day they start bringing up their ex, maybe a casual compliment, "She's actually really good at her job," or a vague comparison. "Back then, he always knew how to make me feel cared for." Each comment is like a needle to your chest. They know you'll feel jealous, insecure, and that's exactly the point. Narcissists have a subtle way of planting doubt and exhaustion in your heart until you start asking yourself, does this relationship even mean anything anymore? Slowly, it feels like you're loving a shadow. The body is there, but the soul is long gone. They become distant, cold, almost invisible in your life. And when your patience finally shatters, you are the one who says the words, "Let's end this." In that moment, you think you've taken back control, but really you've just followed their script. They calculated everything so that you'd be the one to initiate the breakup. The terrifying part is what happens next. They immediately flip the roles. Suddenly, they're the victim. "I tried everything, but she couldn't handle it anymore and left me." They'll share this version with friends, co-workers, even your own family. And in their story, you're the cold, heartless one who caused the pain, while they, so tragically, are just the abandoned. To make the narrative stronger, they often recruit what psychologists call flying monkeys, people they manipulate into believing their one-sided story, who then, knowingly or unknowingly, defend them. You'll recognize this when a mutual friend says something like, "You should be more patient, he really does care about you." On the surface, it sounds kind, but in reality, it reinforces the idea that you're the problem. But let's set the record straight. Anyone who forces you into the role of the one who left never truly loved you. Real love doesn't need manipulation, and it certainly doesn't cast you as the villain just so they can protect their image. If they genuinely wanted to leave, they could have said it openly, honestly, clearly. The fact that they push you into saying the breakup words only proves one thing: cowardice and selfishness. Well, ask yourself, if I'm constantly doubting, constantly under the weight of jealousy and silence, is that still love? The answer is obvious: no. Love doesn't drain you with uncertainty about whether the other person is still there. Love doesn't force you into being painted as cruel in everyone else's eyes. The key is recognizing this game as early as possible. Otherwise, you'll keep torturing yourself, blaming yourself for being the one who ended it. But remember, you are not the one at fault. You're simply the one who cut the rope that had already rotted long ago. And from that very moment, you gain back your voice. You can rewrite the story, not as the one who walked away, but as the one who had the courage to break free. They can craft all the narratives they want out there, but only you know the truth. This love had died long before, and leaving wasn't a failure, it was freedom. Sign 6. They look for a new supply. In love, everyone hopes to be the one and only, but when you're with a narcissist, you eventually face a harsh truth. To them, you were never the one. You were just a supply, a well they drew from to feed their oversized ego, and when that well runs dry, they don't try to refill it, they simply go looking for another. You'll see the signs in small, unsettling ways. They suddenly take an unusual interest in a new co-worker, or keep bringing up an old friend who's suddenly back in the picture. They laugh more when texting someone on their phone, but when you ask, all you get is a vague, "Oh, it's nothing." At first, you try to reassure yourself. It's probably just being polite. But your gut tells you otherwise. And usually, your gut is right. Narcissists are experts at emotional replacement. They don't need time to grieve after a relationship ends, because for them, love is never about a soul connection. It's just a transaction. When you're useful, they stay. When you no longer serve their endless hunger, they immediately find a new target to drain. What's even more painful is that they often want you to notice this shift. They might brag about someone really interesting they've just met. They might ignore you to spend hours talking with that person. Sometimes they even make blatant comparisons. He understands me so much better than you, or she always cares about me unlike you. Each word cuts like a knife, making you believe you're not enough. But remember this, their replacement doesn't reflect your worth. It reveals their emptiness. A narcissist never truly loves you as a person. They only love the way you make them feel about themselves. And when you stop feeding that endless hunger, they look for fresh supply. Tragically, history will repeat itself. The new person will one day stand exactly where you are now. There's a common pattern in this stage. They become inconsistent, unpredictable. One day they're sweet, the next they're cold, as if their mind is already somewhere else. That back and forth keeps you anxious, desperate to win back their attention, but the harder you try, the more drained you become, because in their mind, you're no longer the main source of energy. Some even use the new supply as a manipulation tool. They make sure you know about this other person just to spark jealousy and fear, because they understand jealousy makes you cling harder, terrified of losing them, and to them, that's power. Psychologists call this the replacement strategy. Instead of facing and fixing issues in the current relationship, narcissists line up a backup. They'll never leave the old chair until they know there's a new one ready to sit on. What you need to understand is this. Their search for new supply is not proof that you're lacking. It's proof that they are. Someone who never feels enough will never find satisfaction, no matter who they're with. If you notice this sign, don't waste your energy comparing yourself to the new one. Don't fall into the trap of blaming yourself for not being good enough. The truth is, you gave them the most genuine parts of yourself, and if they didn't value that, it's their loss, not yours. See the arrival of a new supply for what it really is, a clear warning that this relationship is no longer safe, and also see it as your chance to walk away. Because the longer you stay, the more they'll drain you. But once you leave, you finally open the door to real love. A love where you won't be compared, replaced, or used, but cherished for exactly who you are. Sign 7. The cruel words spoken bluntly. If indifference is like a slow death, then the narcissist's blunt goodbye is like a cold, sudden strike. Sharp, merciless, leaving you breathless in shock. After weeks or months of growing distance, after planting seeds of doubt and securing their new supply, there comes a moment when they rip off the last mask. And without hesitation, the words fall like knives. I don't love you anymore. I found someone else. We should end this here. No softening, no decent explanation, sometimes even laced with disdain. They tear the bond apart as if ripping paper, quick, clean, without regret. And you, the one who gave them your trust and your heart, are left stunned, as if the air has been stolen from your lungs. What makes this cruelty even more devastating is the total absence of empathy. In their eyes, there isn't a trace of sorrow, no comfort, no gentleness from someone you once shared everything with. Their words come out like a cold administrative notice. Final, detached, soulless. Most people, upon hearing such words, fall into crisis. They ask themselves, what did I do wrong? How could something once so sweet end so brutally? But the truth is this isn't a sudden outburst. This is the end of a script the narcissist has been preparing all along. Those harsh words are simply the closing act of a plan set in motion long before. If you look back, you'll see the pattern. Before delivering their final blow, they had already withdrawn step by step. Silence, manufactured fights, cold indifference, smearing your name, finding a new supply. All those earlier signs were just rehearsals for this moment, so that when they finally say the words, they can walk away without looking back, and when everything is ready, they deliver the final cut, freeing themselves while ensuring they still control you one last time. Because make no mistake, even in the moment of leaving, they want to leave you haunted. Phrases like, "I love someone else," or "I don't need you anymore," aren't just about ending things. They're meant to carve a deep wound inside you, so you'll torture yourself, question your worth, and bleed in silence. To them, your pain is the final prize, proof that they still hold power over you. But here's the paradox. Within that cruelty lies your chance at freedom. Because when someone is cold enough to cut you off without an ounce of care, there is nothing left to cling to. No more illusions of maybe they'll change, no more hope that it's just a misunderstanding. The raw truth, as bitter as it is, shows you clearly this was never love. It was always a power game. So, let yourself grieve. Let the tears fall, because that is how the heart cleans its wounds. But after the darkest nights, you'll begin to see. Their cruelty wasn't your ending. It was the end of the toxic cycle itself. It's like a door slamming shut, but also the moment you notice another door quietly opening, the one that leads to peace, to the kind of love that is real and safe. Never forget this: you are not the cruel words they left behind. You are not the verdict they tried to pin on you. Your value doesn't vanish just because someone else refused to see it. If anything, this ending has given you the chance to return to yourself, to heal, to be reborn, and to build a life free from manipulation. So when those ruthless words fall from their lips, remember, it's not proof of your failure. It's proof that their mask has finally fallen. And from that moment on, you can begin your own journey, out of the shadows, into the light of freedom, and toward the love you truly deserve. When a relationship with a narcissist ends, your heart doesn't just break once, it shatters into 1,000 pieces. Every memory, every promise, every dream you shared feels like a blade turning back against you. You may sit for hours asking yourself, did they ever truly love me? Or am I worth so little that I could be treated this way? But those questions don't bring answers, they only drag you deeper into the abyss of self-doubt. And yet, the truth must be spoken. Ending things with a narcissist is not your failure, it is your freedom. One door slams shut, but another opens onto an endless horizon. What hurts isn't that you lost a true love, but that you gave so much: trust, effort, hope, to an illusion. When that illusion collapses, your heart feels empty, but in that emptiness lies the return of your freedom. Imagine this: during your time with them, you were like a candle left in the wind, flickering, trembling, always at risk of being snuffed out by the smallest gust. Now that they are gone, so is the wind. You finally have the chance to stand tall again, to light yourself with the fire of self-respect and self-love. Yes, there will be long sleepless nights, when memories crash over you like storms. Yes, you may feel hollow, too weak to move forward, but remember this: pain always has an ending. No wound lasts forever. Unless you keep cutting it open yourself, give yourself permission to cry, to be fragile. But also give yourself permission to rise again, stronger, wiser, and clearer. Because after all, you deserve a love you don't have to beg to be seen in. You deserve a relationship where your words are heard, your feelings are valued, and your presence is cherished. The world outside is so much bigger than the cage the narcissists trap you in. And one day, you'll realize their leaving was actually a priceless gift. A gift wrapped in cruelty, yes, but inside, it carried your chance to discover the best version of yourself. If they had stayed, you might have remained forever stuck in that cycle of love and suffering, of hurt and forgiveness, never knowing what true peace feels like. What matters now is not waiting for them to return, and not chasing the question of why, because why won't change the truth. The question you need to ask is different. How will I live now in a way that I truly deserve? Start with the small things. Give yourself rest. Care for your body and your soul again. Return to the hobbies you abandoned. Rebuild the genuine connections with friends and loved ones that you lost when they isolated you. Every step, no matter how small, is proof that you are coming back to yourself. And when you look back, you'll see that the journey was worth it, because you didn't just escape someone unworthy, you uncovered the strength hidden inside yourself, the strength to endure, to heal, and to love again. This time with a love that is healthy, mutual, and real. So treat this ending not as a full stop, but as an open one. It doesn't close your life story. It only ends a dark chapter, so you can begin a new one filled with light, freedom, and happiness. And if tonight your heart still aches, remind yourself gently, I have lost someone who didn't value me, but I am finding myself again, and that is the greatest gift of all.